Shoko Komi is a socially awkward girl who suffers from a severe communication disorder called social anxiety that makes it extremely difficult for her to speak to others. The episode begins at Itan Private High School. The focus is on Shoko Komi, a beautiful and elegant girl who quickly becomes the center of attention due to her appearance. Everyone is flabbergasted by her beauty. Next, we meet Hitohito Tadano, an average boy who plans to avoid exposure. By his goal, you can tell he is a loser and a mediocre person nobody wants to be friends with. He aims to blend in with everyone and try not to stand out because of his actions in the past. But the gods decide to be cruel and decide to put Komi's school locker right next to him. He is excited to see a pretty girl next to him and is looking at her like a creep until she looks back at him. Then her aura downright terrifies him. He feels looked down upon, and then she walks right past him as if he is just some insignificant worm. That crushes his soul even more. He even looks in her locker for her name. He walks towards his classroom still thinking about Komi. When he enters the class and finds his assigned seat, he realizes that the gods have not only mocked his plans for a new school, but downright spat on it because, as it turns out, Komi's seat is assigned right next to his. Good luck not standing out and staying out of the limelight after that. Next, he realizes everyone is taking pictures of her like a bunch of paparazzis. Everyone is talking about how good she looks and how nice she smells without being careful not to be heard. Sitting next to Komi, Tadano feels like he has a bounty on his head and everyone's out there to throw him out of his seat and sit there themselves. Instead of blending in, he introduces herself. Next is Komi's turn to introduce herself. Everyone is attentive to her to know about her. But she speaks nothing. She leaves her seat, walks past the teacher, takes a chalk and writes her name on the blackboard. And everyone loses their mind over it. Seriously, people. Is that all it takes? 5. He realizes it's over for him. His school years and social life are cooked. He tries to accept that and play the cards he has dealt with in life. Right then, Komi drops her eraser. He quickly passes the eraser to Komi. Tadano is scared and pretends not to notice. It is time for gym class now and he gets up to leave his seat. But suddenly everyone starts storming at Komi and run through him, being attracted to Komi like bugs are attracted to light. Tadano gets hit and passes out in his desk. When he wakes up, he sees that everyone has left the class except him. And Komi. He realizes Komi and him are alone in the class. He tries to talk to her, but she immediately gets up and starts running away. He musters up what little courage he has left and asks if she has difficulty talking to people. Komi suddenly stops running after hearing that. He feels like he said something incredibly stupid. Komi turns around and tries to say something, but instead starts shaking violently. He asks if something is wrong, but that only makes things worse. He suggests writing on the blackboard instead of talking. That seems to help the situation a bit. She asks him how he figured out that she was holding a conversation. He replies that he got a vibe from her, whatever that means. He asks if nobody has noticed it before. But right then, he gym class, but she stops him. Then Komi continues the conversation by saying she wasn't able to eat her lunch today. He asks if she's hungry. Tadano realizes that she has severe social anxiety. She apologizes for bothering him and is about to leave. That's when Tadano starts writing something on the board, a simple conversation with a subtle move towards beginning it. They converse by writing on the board after that. Komi reveals that her dream is to make 100 friends. Tadano says he will be her first friend and help her make other 99 friends, and she accepts. But soon Tadano realizes it won't be easy making friends in a school full of weirdos. He hopes it will be easier because she is pretty and popular. He approaches a girl named Yame to ask her to be Komi's first friend, but little did he know it wouldn't be that easy. Just when he approaches the girl and asks if she wants to be Komi's friend, she interrupts him and says back in a cold voice how he dared to speak such a noble name like Komi with such casualty. She threatens him to use the sama honorific of the Japanese language when he speaks of her. She tells him that he should be grateful that he gets to breathe the same air as Komi. He continues approaching many other people but gets no better results. It's lunch break again. He seems lost and doesn't know what to do to keep his promise to Komi. Then he goes to the last resort, Osana Najimi. He introduces Komi to Najimi. Apparently Najimi and Tadano were friends since middle school. Tadano seems to have been avoiding Najimi before because Najimi was his friend since middle school and was quite popular as well. As such, she would know all the deepest, darkest secrets of Tadano that haunted every gay. Suddenly, Tadano realizes Najimi is wearing a skirt and asks why. That is when he discovers Najimi is actually a girl. As it turns out, Najimi's gender had been ambiguous the whole time and she wore boys' uniform in middle school. She claims that all the students in the school are her childhood friends. Look at this girl befriending weirdos since her childhood. She fits right in this school. Tadano then asks Najimi for a favor. Then Komi tries talking to Najimi, but she starts shaking again. Najimi is worried sick. Tadano then talks on her behalf and tells Najimi that Komi wants to be friends with her. To everyone's shock, Najimi says no. Komi is so shocked she gets petrified. Tadano asks Najimi why she said that, and Najimi tells her story. Apparently Najimi was in the same school as Komi in 2nd grade, or she was ignored when she asked Komi to play. Since then, she feels difficult talking to Komi, because she was ignored and Najimi had to take a week of bed rest apparently. Tadano explains that it's all a misunderstanding and tells Najimi about Komi's situation. Najimi asks Tadano why he is being so supportive and asks if he likes her. Tadano says that's not the case. Then Najimi asks Tadano to speak to her casually and not in a formal way. Afterwards, Najimi and Komi walk home together. Tadano follows them. Najimi seems to be really driving the conversation, but Komi doesn't seem to respond. That makes Najimi scared again. Suddenly, another bloke appears out of nowhere and asks Najimi to go out with him. But Najimi tells him that she's actually a boy. What in the world is going on with Najimi? The next thing you know, this guy doesn't seem to take no for an answer and tries to use force on Najimi. Apparently it doesn't matter if Najimi is boy, since her look is female enough for him. He throws his jacket off and his keys fall off his pocket. Komi picks it up and walks in front of the guy. The guy misreads the situation due to Komi's strong aura and thinks Komi is threatening to kill him by stabbing him with his own keys. He runs away leaving his keys behind. Najimi then says she will be friends with Komi and that she had a completely wrong idea about her. Then onwards, Komi, Tadano, and Najimi eat lunch together. Najimi starts talking like the big mouth she is. Komi is unable to handle all the information. Tadano then tells Najimi that Komi wants to make 100 friends. Najimi thinks little of that as her own friend circle has a rough estimate of 5 million people. Najimi then decides to push Komi into social situations and make her more familiar with the social surrounding. She asks Komi to bring some fancy and really complicated drink or they won't stay friends anymore. When Komi leaves to get the drink, Najimi asks Tadano to follow her without being noticed and help her in case she runs in trouble. Najimi herself has 3 more lunch appointments at different places. Tadano follows Komi despite people around him calling him a stalker and a creep. Komi goes inside the coffee shop with great difficulty but is unable to order. She's too overwhelmed and keeps going in and out of the cafe. The barista asks what she wants to order but she can't speak. The barista then hands her over the menu but the drink isn't in the menu and needs to be personalized. But somehow, the barista seems to know what she wants. He asks Komi to wait in the reception. As he delivers her the drink, it turns out the barista didn't know what she wanted. But she was back to school with the wrong order anyway. Komi is on verge of breaking into tears. Afterwards, Najimi and Tadano apologize for forcing her to do something she was uncomfortable with. Next, Komi wants to be friends with the scaredy cat girl Agari, who can't do anything without pissing herself with fear. Komi is watching Agari to find a perfect time to approach her and befriend her. But Agari seems to be aware and gets nervous. She is so worried that she might have unknowingly done something that the mixed feeling of fear and nervousness makes her stomach hurt. So she decides to hide in the restroom. But alas, Komi is determined to befriend Agari and follows her even to the bathroom. When Komi leaves, Agari comes out. But right outside the restroom, Agari runs into a teacher. She tries to dodge her but sees Komi right behind her again. So she decides to go with the teacher to avoid Komi. The teacher asks her to carry a message to the class. Agari seems to be nervous and having stage fright to convey the message to everyone in the class and is having doubts whether she can do it. Then, her spirit of bravery comes to encourage her. She musters up all her courage, takes a deep breath, stands in front of her class and says "Pa" in a loud voice. Then she loses her shit because she just spouted nonsense in front of the whole class. Right when she's halfway into losing her shit, Komi appears behind her, and she loses it all. She screams the correct message out of sheer panic. But at the same time, she seems incredibly happy because she got the message delivered correctly. Later, we found out it was Najimi who suggested Komi to befriend Agari because she thought their personalities were similar. Agari then later approaches Komi to thank her and asks Komi why she was following her. She apologizes in advance if she had done anything wrong unknowingly. Tadano sees this as a perfect chance and seizes the opportunity to tell Agari that Komi wants to befriend her. But Agari refuses the offer, saying she isn't worthy of the honor and offers to be her pet instead. And thus, Komi makes her third friend. After that, next day Komi approaches Tadano saying she just got a new phone. She asks to exchange phone numbers. Tadano agrees and offers to go to Najimi and Agari to exchange their numbers as well. But Komi says that she relies on him too much and wishes to do it herself. But when she confronts Najimi, she trembles again. Her trembling and pointing a flip phone and a paper at Najimi scares Najimi too. She finally understands and offers to put her number directly in Komi's phone. She then shows some signs, and they start talking about Tadano. Next, Komi goes to Agari and as usual gives her signs to exchange phone number, but she doesn't understand and starts yapping bullshit again. So Komi gives up and goes back to Tadano again. Right then, Agari comes running and apologizes for not understanding her earlier. She brings her number in a paper and gives it to Komi. She explains that she brought it in a paper because Najimi told her that Kamu wanted to get Tadamo's number and her phone first. I sure didn't know phone virginity was a thing, but here we are. The next day, there is a voting for class president and the teacher asks everyone to nominate a candidate. And to nobody's surprise, everyone chooses Komi. To save Komi from this situation, Najimi raises herself as an opponent. Even someone as popular as Najimi gets belief for her action until she says there needs to be a higher position for Komi because a mere position of class president is too trivial and insignificant for Komi. So everyone decides to give her the title of goddess since her name is Komi, which matches with kami, the Japanese word for God. And as a servant for the goddess aka the class president, everyone chooses Tadano. After school, everyone goes home. Komi is playing with her new phone when she accidentally dials a call to Tadano while she was pretending to be in a call. She quickly hangs up and starts panicking. Tadano, unknown to the fact that it was an accidental dial, calls Komi back. She pretends to be automated voice in the call and says the caller is not available. Tadano, however, knows that it's her. He is shocked to hear Komi's voice and is mesmerized by how pretty it is. The next day at school, Najimi is playing a girls' game with a bunch of her friends. Komi seems interested too. But realizing they are all the cool kids of the class, Tadano realizes how tough it can be and suggests that him, Komi, Najimi, and Agari can have a private game after school. However, Najimi hears it and quickly invites Komi over. To nobody but Komi's surprise, everyone is looking forward for her to join. Tadano also forcefully joins as to not leave Komi alone. In the first game, everyone lets Komi win. So to up the stakes, Najimi proposes another game where the loser has to make a pouty face. Everyone sees this as an opportunity to see Komi's pouty face and is hellbent on winning. But Tadano sacrifices his dignity and loses on purpose. Since nobody wants to see Tadano's pouty face, everyone decides to quit the game. Tadano has lost all the color and goes pale due to embarrassment. And who wouldn't after sacrificing your self-esteem? But Komi thanks him for helping and says she had a lot of fun. And all is well at the end.